left, 120. 6 left over crest, opens and left tightens to 4 plus line. And 6 right minus 30. 4 left.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be covering a subject I've only really found a couple of videos on, and I didn't feel they were satisfactory. And I've always wanted to learn about this stuff, you know, seeing as it's rather important to rally racing. Today we're talking about pace notes. Now, pace notes, for a basic understanding of what pace notes are, really we'll call them racetrack notes. That's what they are. Obviously with rally, you sometimes don't get a chance to even see the course, or if you do, it's just once over the course of a day and you're seeing multiple stages before the race, and your only line of defense of going quick and kind of sort of knowing what's around the corner are pace notes. So let's jump into it. With pace notes are usually delivered by the co-driver to the driver as the driver is going down course. At least for me, this is the easiest way to kind of understand it. For you guys, I hope this works for you. I'll show you guys exactly what it says, but this is, you know, my notes on pace notes. So basically you've got your left and your right. If you guys have played Dirt Rally 2.0 or any rally game, you guys kind of understand the left and right call outs, along with the little symbols that they'll put up on screen showing the severity of the turn, right? Well, for me, there's a numbering, a numeric value for each style of corner, and that goes from 1 to 6. 6 for me, and this is all driver and co-driver preference. 1 being a low speed or a sharper corner would be a 1, and then 2 is a less severe corner, all the way up until a 6, which would be almost not even a turn. It would be almost a flat right, or, you know, a flat corner, meaning there's almost no deviation to the path of the course, right? Moving on from the 1 through 6 scale, that is driver and co-driver based. So, you know, for me, that's easy. In my mind, I'm going, okay, if it's a right 6, I can go in here almost flat out because I can be in 6th gear. Not that any of my cars have a 6th gear, but that's the easy way for me to rationalize it. Oh, it's a right 1, I should probably be in 3rd or 2nd, you know, slowing down for this corner. It's going to be kind of tight. Those aren't the only degrees. Obviously, with understanding road conditions, there's a lot of things that can happen in and around just not even turns, but other things that might come up. So obviously we have flat rights for almost no deviation of path. Then underneath a right 1, we have a square right. This is going to usually be at a junction or something of that nature where you literally have a square corner. It's not very difficult to understand that one. I think that one's pretty straightforward. Then we have hairpin corners, which any of you guys, I'm sure many of you guys understand what a hairpin corner is. Realistically, with a hairpin corner, I just want to know that it's a hairpin corner well before I'm coming up to the corner, and I want to know the direction of the turn. So I'm going to want to hear hairpin left or hairpin right. Now, some hairpins are tighter than others, and for this diagram, I have it listed. Anything smaller than a square right is a hairpin. But there's, you know, obviously that's driver and co-driver oriented. You guys can change that however you would like. But moving from there, we have a sharp hairpin right, which would be almost a complete switchback, which hairpins usually are. But, you know, if it's a hairpin, but it's a wider radius hairpin or something, you might just say hairpin very long, something like that. If a corners aren't always cut and dry, right? You don't see a right 3 corner and just assume that it's going to be a right 3 and then be finished. Sometimes you'll need a little bit more description to that corner. So you might hear something along the lines of right 3 tightens. All they mean to say is that right 3 corner that was a 3 at the beginning might tighten to a 2 or a 1 or even a hairpin, depending on what the road is going to be like. So sometimes you'll hear right 3 tightens or right 3 opens, meaning at the end of the turn, it's going to open to a wider radius bend. Then we have things like crests, which really aren't jumps. They're more of, it's a hill. You can't really see what's on the other side. So you might say crest over into whatever. Then you have jumps. Jumps are pretty simple. It's a jump. You know, probably should be cautious over jumps. You're going to want to know the area in which on the road you're going to want to be for jumps, and where the landing is going to be. So if the jump happens and the road kind of bends right, you're going to want to know, hey, stay right over jump, right? So that's a good clarification for co-drivers to make to the drivers as they go over jumps. Another thing is out here we have a lot of cattle guards, and at the Prescott Rally there are cattle guards that the drivers have to be aware for. I've always heard them called gates, because technically you can close a cattle guard, but just letting the driver know, like, hey, there's a cattle guard coming up. Cattle guard is a long form word, so I've always just called gate. Gate works perfectly fine. You know, hey, it's going to be a narrow little passage through this, so slow it down, get on the brakes, especially if it's a gate into a corner. Especially over cattle guards, you're not going to have any grip over those steel bars at all. You, like, if you're braking hard, you got to ease off the brake as you go over that, or you're going to understeer. So moving on from there, we have dips, which are obviously the opposite of hills or crests. A dip just means you're going into something. So be aware of dips and possibly some washout in dips, because that's usually where water drainways are, stuff like that. Then you have your very simple caution. You do not want to miss your cautions, you co-drivers out there, or you drivers. You want to be patiently waiting with your ear to hear caution. Caution means get on the brakes, you're coming up on something sketchy. For you ARA guys, triple cautions are a thing. So again, this is all driver and co-driver based, but I do use the triple caution term whenever it does come up. So, you know, you could hear caution over crest, don't cut. So, you know, over the crest, don't cut the corner because there's something cautious in the way. There's a rock or a big ditch, or the road is narrower than it should be, something along those lines, right? Or if you hear triple caution, you should be standing on those brakes. You should be slowed way down, right? Don't cut, I just said, is another term that you're going to hear a lot, or cut. They're very similar. The only thing is you don't cut the corner, or you cut the corner. If a driver tells you to write cut, it means that there's a good bit of space either in the shoulder or just past the shoulder that they have determined the car can manage. And so they're going to be cutting a portion of the road course off. So they're going to just, they're going to snake a way kind of off course a little bit, versus if you say don't cut, possibly the ditch is very bad in that corner, or there's some debris or a rock or something in the roadway on that corner. So you're going to want to stay wide coming through that corner. We already went over opens and tightens. That's pretty self-explanatory. Into, you're going to see on my notes the little arrow. For us, that just means into. So obviously if you have a lot of space between two corners or two obstacles, you're not going to say into, you're going to say it's a right 5 and then wait, or list the distance between the obstacles, and then you're going to give your next readout. But if there's an arrow, at least on my notes, if there's an arrow, that means into. So that means if there's a right 3 into a left 3, that means it's going to be kind of like a chicane style corner. So I want to know that. That's going to determine where I place the car at the start of the first corner. That way I can apex the last corner and be set up properly for the exit of that corner. Because obviously if I don't know that it comes into another corner that's a switchback, my car placement's going to be bad and I could end up off in a ditch. So that's why it's important to know if it's into or out of. Be descriptive, and don't be afraid to be descriptive, right? Moving on from there, pace notes for the most part are going to look something like this. Now, if you are in the ARA series, you're going to have your own logbooks and pace note books for stages and transits. So especially for you guys transiting in between stages, you got to be careful. They've got road names and things like that, and mile markers and distances between turns that you're going to have to really pay attention for. They don't allow GPS, at least to my knowledge, for transits. So you got to be careful with that. You don't want to get lost when you're not even racing yet. And then on stages, it's going to look a lot more like this. So I hope that was enjoyable for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of watching me beat on the CRX again. It felt good to be in the car. I haven't driven her in probably a month or so. So it felt good to be back in the saddle and actually put the car to some good testing with the road closed off and actually going near full tilt. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun filming this video. If you guys would like to see more of this, or if you guys have any other questions about anything else, feel free to ask us, or if you have anything to add. Until next time.